Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by to check out the new course layout for the upcoming Huck of the Irish tournament brought to you by Park It Disc Golf. We're back out at Hidden Valley Golf and Country Club in Livingston, Tennessee, so big thank you to Justin for hosting us again. This is a temp course that isn't set up all the time, so it is a great opportunity to play a really fun course while it's still available. We've got several big changes happening this year, entirely new hole layouts and other small tweaks for overall course improvements, so be sure to stick around until the end to check them all out. My name is Marshall, I'm with the Park It Disc Golf team, and let's get this thing started. Hole 1 is a par 4 with two separate tees. From the long tee, it's a big 610-foot downhill shot from the tee, but the short tee is 500 feet. Cart paths run the length of the left and right side of the fairway. Your drive must land in the grass between these two cart paths, on or beyond cart path right and cart path left, or OB. If your drive doesn't land in bounds, proceed to drop zone 1, which is also the short tee, with a 1-stroke penalty. If you are unable to land in bounds from the first drop zone, proceed to the second drop zone with an additional stroke penalty. For every throw after this, play where the disc was last in bounds, with stroke penalties for each OB occurrence. The basket has a few low-hanging branches near the green and also has the left OB cart path near it, so be mindful of this while putting. Up next is hole 2. This picturesque par 4 is brand new, so the first change of the course is a new hole entirely. A great addition to the course, it's another fun 565-foot downhill shot, only this time there is a bit of a gap to hit in the trees to get yourself out in the open for your next upshot. The basket is past this second row of trees, so there will be somewhat of a low ceiling when approaching the green. Hole 3 is the same hole, we just moved up the tee pad a little bit closer, so it's a shorter par 3 at 280 feet. It still plays pretty uphill with about 17 feet of uphill elevation change. It's wide open with no OB to speak of, but it does narrow down around the green with a few guardian trees towards the end. The basket is perched on a mound, so any missed putts do have the potential to roll away from you on the green if you aren't careful. Hole 4 is a 270-foot par 3, double mando through the trees as the drone flies. If the mando is missed, please proceed to the drop zone at the base of these two trees with a 1-stroke penalty. There is a golf green to the left that plays out of bounds, so just a heads up since that isn't shown much in the video. The basket sits under a tree that can come into play for an obstructed putt if you do go too far on your drive. Hole 5 is another change to the course layout, playing the gauntlet hole as number 5 now, which was previously hole 7, only now it's in reverse. It's only 200 feet, but this par 3 does require accuracy as there is a double mando in between the first two trees, so make sure to hit your line. If the mando is missed, proceed to the drop zone at the mando with a 1-stroke penalty. There is an OB cart path left and long right if your drive does get away from you. Hole 6 is another course layout change. It's a 300-foot par 3. It's going to be a stock right-hand forehand or backhand turnover. Just keep it low since there is another low ceiling in play. If you go on or beyond cart path on either side of the fairway, you will find yourself out of bounds. Hole 7, brand new hole on the course. There's a slightly elevated tee pad for this 315-foot shot that is pretty wide open, with the only OB being the property line that's about 25 feet behind the basket where the tall grass begins. Only one big tree near the green you need to avoid for an unobstructed putt at the basket. Hole 8 made some changes to the hole. The tee pad now takes a different angle at the basket, which is now in a similar location as before, but instead of hanging, it's now perched on top of the hill. It's a 440-foot par 4, but there is also a 230-foot short tee as well. Even from the short tee, this drive will be a good rip since the entirety of the fairway has so much uphill elevation. Be careful putting on the green as it is also sloped, so this hole does have the potential of really bad rollaways. Hole 9, just a couple of changes. The basket is 497 feet away on this par 4. Players can pitch up to the top of the ridge where the short tee is located before throwing an upshot across the creek for their approach. The short tee begins from the top of the ridge and will have players throw across the creek as a par 3. The only OB is in the creek, which will be marked, as well as on or beyond the cart path to the right. If a tee shot does go out of bounds, there will be a drop zone down by the basket area a bit closer towards the cart path. Hole 10 is a 276-foot uphill par 3 with another low ceiling when entering the green. The cart path on the left and right side of the fairway are OB that can come into play. The basket is tucked into some pine trees that can obstruct your putt if you find yourself slightly out of position. Hole 11, a blind par 3 playing down the wooded tunnel and down the hill into the field, with the only OB being on or beyond the cart path behind the basket, so don't go too long. The long tee is about 423 feet, but there will also be a short tee at the mouth of the tunnel that will be 315 feet from the basket. Players should have a visible line of sight to the basket from the short tee. There's a tree on either side of the basket and that OB cart path behind it, so be mindful of that while putting. Hole 12, the iconic bridge hole designed by Parkett team member Jared Gray himself, is one of the signature holes out here. It's a very pretty hole and fun to throw with the basket resting on the bridge 377 feet away. There is no out of bounds on this hole as the creek is casual. The area below the bridge will be marked as a relief area. If your disc comes to rest underneath the bridge in the marked relief area, play from where the disc last crossed with no penalty. You may take casual relief on either side of the bridge, so you don't have to putt from underneath it. Hole 13, 305-foot par 3. It's a right-hand backhand turnover or stock forehand. There's a mando left of the tree up the hill. If missed, the drop zone will be at the mando. Proceed with a one-stroke penalty. You really want to stay out of the right side as it is very thick and brushy with briars. There's also some guardian branches up high on the green that will try to grab a disc if thrown too high. Hole 14 is the same as before. The new tee pad is just a few feet left of the original tee that will provide a flatter and better surface to tee from. Just hit the initial gap off the tee between the trees on this downhill 280-foot par 3, and be careful not to go too far as there is a cart path that bends its way around the backside of the basket. On or beyond cart path is a hazard. Play your disc where it lies with a one-stroke penalty. Hole 15, the tee will be a little bit shorter than in the drone fly-through. We decided to move it up a little this year to make this straight tunnel shot more enticing. So now it's a 360-foot par 3. No real OB to speak of. Hit the line, give yourself a putt. There are a few low branches on this tree next to the basket that can come into play, causing some obstructed putts if you are outside the circle. Hole 16 is a brand new par 3. The new tee location requires a tight 325-foot uphill tunnel shot through the woods. The drone may not do it justice, but there is about 34 feet of elevation in play from the tee to the basket. Quite a bit of room on top up near the basket, but if you do go very long or land on or beyond the cart path, that will be out of bounds. Hole 17, arguably the coolest hole on the course, and for that, the signature hole. It's a 415-foot island hole, par 3, where the island is defined by the cart path surrounding the basket. Also, the area left of the main cart path and short of the roped ditch line is in bounds. If your drive does not come to rest in bounds, proceed to the drop zone at the roped ditch line with a 1-stroke penalty. Any other shot after your drive that goes out of bounds, proceed to where it last crossed in bounds with a stroke penalty. So it does give you an option to either go for the island or to lay up short to play it safe. It's a fast green with a steep hill surrounding the basket, so be wary of rollaways on this green. Hole 18, last one. A couple of small tweaks on this hole. What you see here is the drone flying from the original 740-foot par 4 tee, which is now the short tee. The long tee is actually 200 feet behind this one, making it a 940-foot par 5. That tee pad is essentially the same, just higher in elevation and farther back. The only out of bounds this time will be the woods on the left side of the fairway, which will be marked. Players are free to land on either side of the cart path, so there is no OB right of the cart path, and that's fair game. The basket location is now closer to the OB woods on the left than shown by the drone here, so that will require extra focus for approaches and putting on the green. All right, everyone, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you found this helpful and it gives you a little bit of an idea as to what to expect for the day of the tournament. Like I said, there are multiple course layout changes as well as some other small tweaks, so it should be a lot of fun. It's one of our favorite courses to play, so we hope to see you out there. Go check out Park It Disc Golf on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for additional content as we grow the sport of disc golf in Cookeville and Middle Tennessee through course design and tournaments. We've got some fun stuff coming up this year, so follow along to support. And if you need any equipment along the way, be sure to check us out. Thanks again for checking out the new course design. This is Marshall from Team Park It signing off, and I'll see you out there on the course.